House of Harmony.
You know.
Welcome in, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
After Drill.
That's right.
Your daily delight. Beef.
Drew.
Here again. Face to face.
That's right.
A couple of silver spoons. That's over your head, man. That's like old school. I think that show predates you. Another exciting edition of the Drill today. Another busy Drill Wednesday.
That's right.
One answer short of the perfect game on Gets Marjan. And the question was chicken feathers, bro, but we won't get into it.
Okay.
It was deep about fonts.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh,
who knows the ins and outs of fonts, dude?
I don't.
I certainly don't. I know Times New Roman. Make sure it's 12 point or your professor won't accept it.
That's pretty much it. Double space,
Times New Roman, 12 point. Do not vary.
There it is.
Do not vary from the rules. Yeah, it's a lot of blowback, Drew. I'm sure you're active on Twitter, so I'm sure you saw this too.
Yes.
Jag fans very up in arms over the team's decision to go to mobile ticketing.
That's right.
That was announced yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The Jags are going to go exclusively mobile ticketing, all through the Jaguars app. You'll get your tickets through there. They're transferable, so if you're giving your tickets to somebody in your family, you're selling, it's all mobile. There's no hard tickets. There's no paper tickets anymore. It's all.
We kind of talked about this might happen because getting your tickets is like it's like an off-season holiday for a lot of fans. It's like
it really
Christmas, and you get I got the tickets, and now you can save them.
You get the booklet. You're excited about the booklets. Who's on the ticket?
They look
there's a whole
cool.
thing, right? And if it's a big game, there's a souvenir you have. It's it's a keepsake. So there's a lot of people aren't happy about the mobile tickets, but look, this is the way attending events is going. Not just sporting events, events in general, and not even just like events, but this is ticketing in general is going this way. It's going to mobile ticketing. This is the way the industry is trending. That's sporting events. That's concerts. That's air travel.
We also talked about how this will affect scalping too. I mean,
well, it obviously will really throw a wrench in the scalping industry. It depends on what kind of intel you have to provide when you're transferring tickets. Can you just have someone's email address and say transfer tickets and the cash transaction? Or maybe
we're on the same app. You just bop it right. Or am I going to have to literally give you my phone?
Well, you're going to have to physically transfer the tickets. So I think you're going to have to give somebody
or something,
your email address, and they're going to have to send you. It's going to be a pain. It's going to be tough for the scalpers out there.
Yeah.
Which, if that was your go-to mode of acquiring tickets, or if that was supplemental income for you, scalping tickets, good luck.
Scalpers, maybe if you just get a bunch of disposable iPhones and you just sell your iPhone with the ticket, boom.
Burner phones, and you charge, or you get good iPhones and you sell the tickets. It's like I've got 2 for Jags Tennessee, $2,000, but they come with iPhone 10s.
So
preloaded.
Pretty good deal.
App.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
I don't feel like I just stumbled upon greatness right there, but I mean, I might.
You might have found a loophole idea to make money.
You scalpers out there.
Have you, free? Thank Drew. Maybe slide on a little C note here and there if you make some cash.
Thanks.
Throw a little old Drew's way, a little honorarium.
Could use it.
Just for like a finder's fee, just a thank you for the idea.
That's all I'm asking for. Nothing too crazy.
No. Drew, you're a baseball fan. I love baseball. Mm-hmm. There was one of the most bizarre endings to a baseball game I've ever seen last night.
So the Astros game?
The Astros-A's game ended in the most weird Little League way possible.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the highlight, please go find it. Go look it up. The Astros are at bat. And
Bregman absolutely crushes one about 3 feet in front of him.
Crushes a slow roller about 3 feet in front of him. That looks to be the final out of the game. A's catcher Jonathan Lucroy picks the ball up. Easy peasy. You tag the guy. Game over. Except Lucroy drops the ball. Okay, no big deal, right? Mm-hmm. So the runner starts advancing to first base as you would. The runner, as he's running, he's like, well, crap, I'm done.
Right.
But you got to run it out. You got to leg it out. That's just how it goes. So he's legging it out. Lucroy does that couple shimmy step to the side to throw to first base, throws a little off target, nails Bergman right in the helmet. Ball sails into right field. Winning run comes around.
She wrote.
Game over. It was the most weird Little League ass finish I've ever seen to a game. I couldn't believe it. It was a real kick in the peaches for the A's, who were really fighting to stay in the playoff mix in the West with the Astros and Mariners being so good. I mean, the A's are 10 games above 500, 9 games above 500.
The A's have been really hot. Yeah.
And they're still like 6.5 back.
And Jed Lowry just got into his first All-Star game as well. He got in there late.
So it's tough if you're an Oakland A's fan because your team's playing really well and you've run in. There's 2 buzzsaws at the top of your division. This is the worst year to be good in the AL West.
Yeah, it's definitely up there with some of the craziest things I've seen in baseball. I remember maybe when FSU was in Omaha a year or so ago, I saw a kid score on a pass ball from first base. That was another.
It's nuts.
It's just like it's up there with like it just makes no sense how that even happens, especially at the big league level. Basically because Bregman was dead and kind of just like jumped back like you would. You don't want to get tagged, and then goes to tag him, drops the ball, and then just boom throws it off his head.
It's crazy. It's like one error. You start gripping, and the errors get compounded, and crazy things happen. Another crazy thing happened last night in the big leagues. It sort of shined a light on an already well-documented situation. The Cleveland Indians bullpen is hot garbage. And
Mickey Callaway has left them in shambles.
But apparently he learned all his best tricks from Tito. Mm-hmm. Now remember Mickey Callaway, the Mets manager. He came from Cleveland. He batted out of order early in the season.
Mm-hmm. My father so famously refers to him as Mickey Mouse.
He does not like him.
Doesn't like him.
Mickey's mentor, Tito Francona, in Cleveland last night. Mm-hmm. Now Trevor Bauer pitched his balls off. Mm-hmm. Had a tremendous game. Left the game with a 4-0 lead, dominant pitching performance. All the bullpen had to do was just finish it up. And, before you knew it, it was 4-3 Cleveland. They'd already blown nearly the entire 4-run lead. Tito had called down to the bullpen. I may mix up the initials, but he asked for CP. I don't remember the initials. He asked for somebody by their initials. Mm-hmm. And the guy in the bullpen thought he said CT, mm-hmm. which is another dude's
initials
nickname.
Oh, okay.
And so he got one guy up, and so when they called for the bullpen, this dude kept trotting out. It's not the guy Tito wanted, and he's like, "Oh no! This guy's going on four outings in 5 days. He's gassed at this point, and he comes out and proceeds to give up the game-winning double to Joey Votto. Indians lose.
That sounds like a Mets game that I've seen like 5 times this year when DeGrom pitches.
Yeah,
actually.
And that's been a microcosm of Cleveland's bullpen situation. They are such a good team, and their bullpen is pulling them down. It's not just that they're not good; they are negatively affecting the team. Cleveland has 6 All-Stars. 6. That's most in the majors.
Yeah,
and they just can't get out of their own damn way.
Pretty
with
crazy,
bullpen.
Honestly.
It's a nightmare bullpen. They need all the help in the world. In the bullpen, and I don't know if there's enough out there to get it. They'll win the division, but they feel like they'll be that dead man walking team because they're going to roll into the playoffs, and it's going to be Cleveland, and then it's going to be New York or Boston, Seattle or Houston, and Cleveland.
Yeah,
good luck, guys.
Yeah, they're going to run into some issues.
Those other 4 teams might all win 100 games,
right?
And they're going to slide in and be like, "Hey, everybody!"
By the way, that's the other thing that's so crazy about Cleveland having 6 All-Stars. They're in the AL. The AL All-Star team is
loaded.
Is damn good.
It's loaded. And, I mean, everybody kind of questioned Trevor Bauer getting that nod over Snell from Tampa when Justin Verlander pulled out of the All-Star game. But he proved it last night that he's every bit of an All-Star as much as Blake Snell is. He may not have the stats to match it, at least on pace with Snell, but he's an all-star caliber player. Speaking of the Rays, they made news yesterday as well.
Thank God
announcing plans for. I don't want to say plans because it's nothing's in stone yet. It's renderings and the seeds of a plan to build a $900 million ballpark in the Ybor City neighborhood in Tampa. The Rays will have a home park in Tampa, which they haven't had since their inception 21 years ago. They've been playing in St. Pete, which granted isn't a ridiculous haul from Tampa, but it's not close either. And that's been a big problem for the Rays, not to mention their terrible teams throughout the years.
And not to mention the Trop is probably the worst park in baseball.
It's not a great park. I don't know if I'd call it the worst park in baseball, but I will say this. I don't like the Trop as a park because it's so nondescript and antiseptic, but having lived in Florida for 20 years now and gone to a lot of Suns and now Jumbo Shrimp games, and Miami Marlins games outside in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one Rays game a couple years ago, and I am a Florida indoor baseball convert.
Okay.
All day, every day. Yeah. Dome it up. Dome them all.
Well, it also makes sense. Obviously, y'all all know how Florida works. I mean, it's bright and sunny one second, it's pouring down rain the next 20 minutes, and then it's sunny again.
So the Rays ballpark plans has it's fully domed, but with a translucent roof.
Oh.
So it's almost like a frosted window.
Wow.
So like the sunlight and natural light will all pour in over the field.
Beautiful.
The only part that's got a shady cover is the seating area, but the whole field portion is a translucent dome. They do have much like I think is it Milwaukee and Houston that has the vertical windows along the outfield that can open and to let the natural weather in without allowing rain and the elements in. So they've got that as part of the park too, but really it comes down to where's the money going to come from? Is the city of Tampa going to pay for this? Is the team going to do that?
Chubb is a fluorescent case.
It's a little bit of that, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The ballpark itself is not great.
Right.
Attending games at the Trop, while I was incredibly comfortable, I didn't feel like I was at a fun major league environment.
Right.
I felt like I was in an old basketball arena watching a baseball game, which is kind of what the Trop is. I felt like I was at the Spectrum in Milwaukee or Philadelphia, wherever the Spectrum was.
Right.
Whatever. The Mecca was in Milwaukee. The Spectrum in Philly. Yeah. Like I'm at an old '70s arena watching a baseball game. And it's, if they can get the lighting right and get the feel right, it makes sense. But I still don't know if a shiny new ballpark is enough to salvage baseball.
But I also think moving the stadium to Tampa is another good thing.
Well, it's a good move. You see how well the Lightning do, being downtown in Tampa. They are as concrete as you can get as far as a team in a non-traditional market doing really well. The Tampa Bay Lightning are.
They're there every year.
As good as it gets as far as consistent attendance and really passionate fan base. And if they can get some of that to trickle over to the Rays by playing in Tampa, then they'll do okay. But that's the big question. Is the product good enough to draw night in and night out? I don't know.
Right.
The Rays have just been so bad. Outside of that little window they had, in the late 2000s with Joe Madden, and they had that World Series run. They had some really good years around that. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, they've just not been a very good franchise. They've just been kind of a cellar dweller, and they need to get it right. And the problem is the payroll's so small because of attendance and everything else that they just don't have the means to retain their players.
Right.
And they need to start keeping guys in-house if they're going to try and fill up. It's going to be a small park, but still, it's going to be 25 to 30,000 seats. That's still a lot of seats to fill up, and they're not drawing anywhere near that right now.
I mean, they haven't been good since, 08?
08 was the World Series run, and they've flared up. They've had some good years, but not contention.
Nothing contending
like that.
Yeah.
And that was a really good team. But again, it's hard to keep these guys together when your payroll is at a minimum. And Frank has talked about this a lot, and he's right. And I tend to be less sympathetic to this situation because I'm a fan of a big market team like you are. Mm-hmm. But when you're a fan of a big market team, you tend to not feel as bad for the have-nots. But baseball, really more than any sport in the professional ranks, is about the haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
As a league with no salary cap, it's the rich teams stay rich and stay successful, and the poorer teams in smaller markets don't have the budget, don't have the payroll.
Well, that's the funny thing about the Mets is that their payroll's not all that high, and they're in New York.
It's not right now in New York. It's weird, but it has been at times.
It has been at times,
and it will be. I mean, if they feel like they're close, they'll spend on guys. Sure. They've always shown they'll spend if they feel like they're.
You want to know the Mets special? Here's the Mets special. You get a guy, he gets drafted, he comes up with his big league team, he makes his big splash for a couple of years. He's got his big first free agent signing. He goes and he signs with the Yankees. He signs a 7-year deal with the Yankees. He's good for 4 or 5 of them, and then he's near the end of his career, and that's kind of it. And then the Mets go, and they'll sign him maybe either just from the Yankees, or maybe even after he signed like a 2-year deal with another team, they'll sign him, and they'll be like, "We just signed this huge name!" That's what the Mets do.
Yes, they are known for that on occasion to do that. That used to be the Cubs move too. I'm glad we've kind of moved away from that.
That's good.
By the way, Cubs won yesterday. Thank you. Winner in San Francisco. Just trying to stay afloat. Try to hold off those Milwaukee Brewers. They're tenacious, that team from up in Milwaukee. What up, CCG? CCG says, funny how a small market team gets off to a hot start and gets shoved down our throats. Well, I mean, it's better than ignoring them when they have a hot start. It's tough. That's the only way you're going to talk about a small market team is they have to start so much hotter than the big names.
People like the small market teams that aren't always there. I mean, it's a good story. I mean, even think about the Jaguars. Jaguars get hot, obviously, last year, and they were all of a sudden the talk. We're seeing Jaguar players on NFL Network every other day. You haven't seen that in God knows how long.
Well, right, and that's the hard part is you got to stay up. Everybody loves a cute story at first, but then they want to shift back to the traditional powers.
Yeah.
You got to stay in the mix. You got to stay relevant to make them want to keep talking about you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about it, in baseball right now,
Royals was not a fun story. Royals was an awful story.
It was an awful story for Drew. I thought it was a very fun story.
I was at Game 5 of the World Series where the whole stadium's chanting, Harvey, Harvey, and that SOB comes out there and just
implodes.
Except Pirates not so much.
Pirates not so much. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Everybody likes the Royals.
If you're a bad small market team, you're not going to get any love. If you're a good small market team, you have to be real good.
Yeah.
If you're just okay, they'll talk about you at first, but then it fades. Look at the Milwaukee Brewers. They got off to a really hot start. People were talking about it. No one talks about the Brewers anymore.
No.
Not right now. They're talking about the Yankees. They're talking about the Red Sox.
The only time you hear them come up is maybe if they're like, oh, remember when they made that deal for CC Sabathia? What if they do that for Manny Machado?
If they do that for Manny Machado, and they'll go right back into the front of the line of the conversation. But it will fade if they don't get right back into the mix in the NL Central, because they're still staring down the barrel of two bigger traditional powers in the Cubs. And granted, they're not as good as they have been in the past, but the Cardinals are still dominating the conversation. Even when the problem is when you're a small market team, St. Louis dominates the conversation for being bad.
Yeah.
St. Louis is struggling, and their GM is publicly criticizing players by name, and that's a bigger talker than anything good the Brewers is doing.
Your guy Fowler's having some problems with Matheny, apparently.
Fowler and Matheny don't like each other. The GM out there is calling him out by name, calling out his effort. He apparently hasn't spoken to Mike Matheny all year outside of a few words exchanged. It's a bad scene, man. They still have 3 years left of that $82 million deal they signed him to.
It's a clear polo. It's not a Royals polo. There's nothing on it.
Again, I don't know if Drew has some kind of licensing arrangement, some kind of sponsorship deal. But another Walter Hagen golf shirt.
Come on, Walt.
Drew Hickey.
Throw me something, baby.
Drew and Walt. Me, as you can always count on me, if I'm not in some kind of rock and roll tour T-shirt, I'm company man.
Company man.
Got to stay with the brand. Stay on brand. 1010XL. I look exceptionally lazy and small here leaning back, Drew, but I'm just going to stick with it. And most people can't see my eyes.
Maybe I can put my chair down a little bit.
What if I go to sleep right here, Drew?
Here, I put my chair down. Now we both look
Thank you. Now we look like dwarves.
Yeah. 90% off it. That's what it is. That is what it is. He's right. 90% off at Dick's. That's where I got all these.
The Walter Hagen shirt?
Yeah.
Shout out to Dick's.
Clearance rack, baby.
Look, man, if there's one thing Drew loves, it's some Dick's. Also, today on the drill, we didn't get a chance to talk about it too much yesterday, Drew, but the PGA Tour revealed their tweaked schedule. And we had brunch with the tour today. Chris Reimer's on vacay, so we kind of went without him. We gave him some great picks in the picks, though, so he should be very happy. But the tour announced their modified schedule for 2019, and you would assume for the foreseeable future going forward. And it's something we've been harping on for years with the golf, to stop competing with football. You cannot win. Stop running your championship events in August and into September. It's a losing situation for you. And that's why what the PGA Tour is doing now is brilliant. Now, look, us here locally, selfishly, we're not crazy about the players moving back to March just because weather becomes more of a factor. The temperatures are a little cooler. It's a little more of a mixed bag than May.
Sure.
May was such a good situation for the players. We loved it so much. The weather was always great. Ending on Mother's Day was amazing. The pink out on Sunday at the players was always awesome. So those things we're going to miss. But the players is now going to move back to March. I can't imagine it's going to move off of there in any foreseeable future for a long time. The Masters, Big Shot, will stay in April. Now the PGA moves up, becomes a major in May.
Right.
We have the U.S. in June, British in July, and the Tour Championship in August. the season will finish up before regular season NFL. That's how it should be. And you're right, Matthew. NASCAR, I don't know what the hell NASCAR is doing. We've been saying for years that they need to condense that season down. Mm-hmm. It starts way too early, it ends way too late, and you wind up competing with football at the end, and nobody gives a damn about your NASCAR race on Sunday when there's pro football on. It's just the reality of the situation. And NASCAR, much like the PGA, needs to take this massive elongated schedule, condense it down, and have it run during the warmer months and finish before football season.
And by the way, we've talked about this before on here. The PGA is also more popular than NASCAR.
It is,
especially nationwide. So NASCAR really needs to do something.
And you know what, NASCAR, if your sport became a little more limited viewing, i.e., a little less events, a shorter schedule, maybe the incentive to watch would be a little greater. But they start in middle of February. And they go into the fall.
Yeah.
It's a stupid schedule, and they spill into football, and nobody's not watching the NFL
so they can watch. You're stretching your tiny fan base out over this long period of time.
Nobody wants to watch the race in Homestead when the Saints and Packers are on Fox.
Right.
Nobody's tuning into Homestead to see if Kevin Harvick can get it done and bring home the God only knows what it's called cup this year.
That's right.
It's just how it is.
Yep.
Their season needs to end about the same time the PGA Tour season is going to end now, mid-August. Get it done before people get into football. And if you're going to start the NASCAR season, don't start it in February in Daytona. The weather sucks in Daytona in February. Start mid-March. Run through mid-August. That's more than enough time to figure out who the hell is the good race car drivers and who's not.
Yeah,
it's the same with golf. There's plenty of a window that they're providing themselves to figure out who the best guys are, get into the FedEx Cup playoffs, pare it down, and figure out.
And that's coming from a guy. I'm not a big NASCAR guy myself, but I'd be much more likely to watch if it was just X amount of races.
And look, I'm not watching NASCAR every week, but if the playoffs and the final event of the season was some Sunday in the middle of the NFL preseason, I'll flip it on.
Yeah.
I'll see what's going on.
Sure.
I'm not flipping over to it on a Sunday afternoon when there's an NFL game on. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap about NASCAR enough to watch that.
I think you speak for most people when you say that.
And that's just the reality of it. That's where they're at right now. If they want to bring casual viewers back in, they need to stop competing with sports casual viewers care much, much more about. That's just the reality for NASCAR, and they need to embrace that or die on the vine. It's their choice. If they want to sit out there and keep finishing their season during football season and die a slow, agonizing death, then they're welcome to do it. Walk off into the wilderness, NASCAR. Bye. No one will miss you.
Yeah.
That's the problem, too, they don't understand, is casual sports viewers aren't going to miss you, NASCAR.
Right.
It's just the way it is. But, we'll see what NASCAR decides to do moving forward. I don't know what the ratings were like for Daytona this time around, but it's been a struggle. Mm-hmm. Matt says, I don't like NASCAR, but I imagine when college football begins, especially in the South, it's over.
Yeah,
correct.
Definitely.
Now, you're saying that, but college football is run on Saturday, NASCAR is run on Sunday afternoons. It's not so much once college football starts. It's when it starts competing with NFL.
But games. Even which we're talking about going to events now. I mean, you're going to choose going to that college football game on Saturday.
Right. I'm not going to a NASCAR race on Sunday if I'm going down to Gainesville or I'm driving to Tally. Or if I'm, if the race is in Atlanta or Tuscaloosa or Charlotte, same thing.
Yep.
I'm watching big time college football Saturday. I'm not driving to the NASCAR race. I'm not going to it. I'll watch it on TV, maybe, but I'm not going to it at all. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Right.
Man, this took a heavy NASCAR turn.
It did.
On After Drill today. On that note, I think we need to head into turn 4 and bring it back home. Tomorrow is Thursday on the drill, so that means Dr. Kevin Murphy will join us. Of course, we'll see if Dan Hicken is as high on Kevin Knox today as he was, or tomorrow as he was today, as he was through the roof for Kevin Knox. He's got Knox fever.
It's funny seeing Knicks fans continue to get their hopes up after being disappointed at times.
It's crazy, man. They've been getting trampled on for decades, and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Like just
resilient bunch.
Like a sad little dog. They just keep coming back. Hoping this time, Dad won't kick me. But guess what? By about Christmas, Dad's gonna kick you again, dog. He's gonna kick you again, and it's not fair and it's not kind. But it's going to happen.
That's right.
And you need to accept that. It's time to run away, Knicks fans. There's room on the Bulls bandwagon. We love you, Googans. After Drill back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Peace.